Hello class, welcome back to the chapter 4, part 3 presentation. We're going to go ahead and continue with labeling theory. So labeling theory looks at how people react to criminal behavior, and this was theorized by Edwin Lemert. He created a perspective that made us understand people's reactions to when they are labeled as a criminal, and he outlined that there was two types of criminal behaviors, which was primary and secondary deviance. So the primary deviance is any minor act that are often not too serious, but does attract attention of police and the courts. So think of someone who's not really, you might not consider a criminal, and they may make a mistake, right? And then this individual is often labeled as an offender because now they have a criminal record. And then that carries a negative association in society, which may cause the offender to presume a new identity. And this is what we call the self-fulfilling prophecy, right? So then from here, we go on to secondary deviance. So this person could have possibly made a mistake or committed the primary deviance, and now they're going to say, well, hey, if I'm already labeled as a criminal, well, I'm going to be looked at it, in a negative way, so I might as well embrace it. And then they go on to carry out their secondary deviance, which are crimes of actual severity. So he theorized that people might embrace a negative way people label them after doing something minor, which may lead them to do something more serious in the future, which will be the secondary deviance. Now, looking at social learning theory, when we're looking at social learning theory, we're going to see that individuals learn from observing behaviors of other individuals around them, and we can refer to this as modeling. So when we look at Albert Bandura, there's this quote: "From observing others, one forms an idea of how new behaviors are performed, and on later occasions, this coded information serves as a guide for action." So there could be things like anything in pop culture that can influence behavior as individuals try to mimic or to model things that they see on television, on social media, etc. Then we have something that we call differential reinforcement, which looks at behavior as a balance between increasing the rewards that come with engaging in deviant or criminal behavior and minimizing the potential consequences and punishments. So if peers are involved in a criminal act and one wishes to be accepted by their peers, then the intrinsic rewards of being part of those peers can outweigh the moral concerns that you would have by breaking the law. You're no longer worried about the ethics behind that. Let's go ahead and continue with the social bond theory. So here we have Travis Hershey, which we're going to discuss in a little bit as well. So social bond theory is a unique work in that he looks for explanation as to why people might desist from criminal behavior, right? In other words, why they might not engage in criminal behavior. So Hershey's social bond theory focused on 4 specific things or bonds that would prevent people from engaging in criminal behavior or from acting on criminal impulses or any desires they might have to commit a crime. And he thought of these bonds as being attachment, commitment, involvement, and belief. So attachment is any bond that you have with your family, your friends, any social institution, right? So think of your job, your education, or your religious group. So Hershey said that people refrain from criminal behavior as a result of these attachments because they do not want to disappoint the people in their lives, right? You don't want to disappoint your colleagues, your family, your church group, etc. Then we have commitment, which is referred to as the investment that an individual has in the normative values of society. So in this case, the concept of commitment embodies the spirit of rational choice that we might have. Like, for example, if we're committed to obtaining a college degree and a violation of the law might limit the ability to achieve that goal, then we might decide not to commit a criminal act because it will jeopardize their future. So think about someone who's obtaining a law degree. They know that if they commit a crime, they will be barred from taking the Florida bar. So it's going to jeopardize them being a lawyer in the future. Or in my case, I might lose my teaching license, so I will be deterred from a criminal act because of my commitment to my future, my career as a teacher. Then we have involvement, which refers to the degree to which one participates in conventional activities, such as studying or playing sports. So when we look at involvement, and the idea behind involvement is that youth who are more involved in these sorts of activities are less likely to engage in delinquent activities. So think of individuals who play sports, they're more busy after school, they don't have free time to be engaged in these activities, or sometimes you've heard of something being someone's anti-drug, like a sport or a club or a hobby being your anti-drug, or essentially what just keeps you busy to help you stay out of trouble. And lastly, it's belief, and this refers to a general acceptance of the rules of society. The less a person believes he should obey the rules, and the more likely they are to violate them. So if you have a belief in your government and your community, then you're less likely to engage in those criminal behaviors. So now we have a general theory of crime, which was still one of Hershey from social bond theory, now with Michael Golferson, another researcher. And this is a more of a micro level theory because it focuses on the specific individual. So, the researchers, Golferson and Hershey, they focus on self-control as a single factor that explains delinquent and criminal behavior. And according to this theory, individuals with high levels of social control will remain law-abiding, while those with low social controls will be more likely to engage in deviant and criminal activities. So there's still some questions that are still there. So what influences an individual's self-control? Well, the two researchers asserted that the development of self-control is rooted in the family. The more involved the parents are in their children's lives, the more likely they are to be aware of challenges to their development in their children's self-control. So this awareness then leads to action, and parents are more likely to correct the issues at a young age, so their parents will intervene when they see something wrong in their children. And as a result of this, the researchers' general theory of crime suggests that early intervention efforts are the only effective tool to deter individuals from engaging in criminal acts. Now we're going to look at contemporary theories of crime. Contemporary just means more modern. So we're going to look at the life course theory and development theory. So life course theory looks at how these behaviors begin. So criminal behaviors may begin during adolescence or young adulthood and either persist or desist during one's life. It also examines the factors of life events that may encourage these shifts in behavior. So when looking at this specific theory, there's other theories within it, and one of the most well-known theories is Loeb's age-graded development theory. And it's Sampson and Loeb, excuse me. So Sampson and Loeb suggested that the events of one's life, right, from your birth to your death, can provide insight as to why one might engage in crime, and highlights the importance of adolescence as a crucial time in the development of the youth and ultimately the adult for offending behaviors. So things like conventional adult activities like family bonding and work can serve as a protective factor in adulthood. So think about it. If I am a father and if I have a good job, I cannot risk those things because I might end up behind bars and I will not be able to see my family, which is a more severe punishment than potentially being in jail or in prison. So even if the individuals have engaged in delinquent acts during adolescence, things that come with the later years in life might deter them from committing any crimes. The two researchers also suggested that it is a matter of how much social capital or how many positive relationships one has that can determine whether people continue to engage in crime or end up in a law-abiding lifestyle. So in other words, people age out of crime because of the things that come at them in later adulthood, education, work, advancing in your career, etc. So you have a lot more to risk as an adult. So here we have the age-graded theory, which is actually the one I just spoke about. So you could pause it if you want to read up on this one, but I just described it. And make sure you look at the last two bullets to describe the research testing this. So now we're going to look at feminist criminology. All right, so feminist criminology came about as an alternative to a lot of the other traditional theories of crime because the other theories failed to understand how female offenders were different from male offenders. The majority of theories just focus on men. So this looks at different themes of gender roles and socialization to explain the patterns of offending within women. Um, so we have the feminist pathway theories. Give me 1 second.